Hi students, this is Mrs. Marinelli from Business 268 Electronic Calculating, and this video is on lesson 13, fractions and decimals. Fractions are used to compare numbers, how much out of how much. So for example, if I cut a piece of pie in 6 pieces and I ate 2 pieces, then the fraction would be 2/6. So fractions are to compare numbers. The top number is called the numerator. The bottom number, or the base, is called the denominator. So 1/2 means 1 out of 2. So if this drawing were a candy bar and I cut it in half and I ate 1 piece, then I ate 1 out of the 2 pieces. So looking on page 85, we don't need a calculator for this page. So we're working on, I used to call them story problems when I was little. We're working on problems that I'm going to show you in a triangle method. However, so that you'll get used to this for future problems. You really don't need the triangle for these, but for those who haven't had algebra, this might help. So on page 85, B, this is the part, this is the base, this will follow of most of the time, this is the rate or the percent. So it says a lottery ticket cost $2 and paid off $151, so that's a pretty good deal. The payoff was what fraction of the ticket's cost. You want to know what fraction of the ticket's cost was the payoff. So if I look at what follows of the ticket's cost, that's the base amount, and the payoff, the part, is 151. So as a fraction, it's 151 over 2. When your numerator is bigger than the denominator, you're going to have a whole number and a part in a fraction. And then it says write the fraction in lowest terms for numbers 1 through 7. No calculator is needed. So again, I'm going to draw my triangle. This will help us later on down the road. And make sure you don't get your numbers flip-flopped. A jacket that usually sells for $100 is marked $20 off. The amount off is what fraction of the usual price. So look at the of the usual price goes on the bottom, and the part is $20 off. So what fraction of the usual price? So it's 20 over 100. To reduce to lower terms, if you have a 0 on top, get rid of a 0 on the bottom. That's like dividing by 10. And now you have 2/10. So what number divides into both numbers equally? 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So your fraction to lowest terms is 1/5. So it's 1/5 of the usual price. Looking at I don't know, let's pick out number 6. A company that owed $2,000 paid early and received a 40% discount. What fraction of the amount owed was the discount? What fraction of the amount owed? What follows of is the base. They owed $2,000 and they received a $40 discount. For every zero on top, I can get rid of a zero on the bottom. So my fraction is 4/200, 2/1000, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and reduce to lowest term. What number goes into both equally? 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 250 times. So it's 1/5. So if you were doing these no, I'm not going to show it that way. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, next page, 86. Decimals. A decimal is a kind of fraction. Decimals are also ways to compare numbers. Sometimes we use percent, sometimes we use decimals. If I ate a part of a candy bar, I would say I ate half of the candy bar. I would not say I ate 0.5 of the candy bar. So 0.5 as a decimal, what place is this in from the previous chapter? It's in the 10th place. So 5/10 is the fraction. Reduce it to lower terms, 1/2. So 1/2 is the same as 0.5. If you don't know that in your head, if I set my decimal at 4, and if I take my fraction of 5/10, 5 divided by 10 is the 0.5. Any numerator divided by a denominator will give you the number in decimal form. So on the left on page 86, a decimal is a kind of fraction. The decimal 0.5 is 5/10 because you're in the 10th column. So it's essentially the same as 50 cents, 5/10. Any fraction can be made into a decimal equivalent by dividing the numerator divided by the denominator. Numerator divided by the denominator. Some numbers, such as 1/3, when you divide 1 divided by 3, the number just keeps going and going and going. We're going to carry ours out to 4 places. So 1/3 would be 0.3333. It doesn't end. 6/7. I'm sorry. What do I want? 6/9. Which is the same as 2/3. 2 divided by 3. It's 0.666 and it never ends. So if we carry it out to 4 places, you look to the right, it's greater than 5, so we're going to round it to 0.6667. So if the denominator is not the same in 2 or 3 or 4 different fractions, you have to have a common denominator to compare. So it's often easier to compare as a decimal. So look at part G. Which fraction is larger, 65 1/28 or 73 1/40. Well, those are oddball numbers that I don't have memorized, and so to compare, instead of reducing these to lowest terms and trying to compare, I'm going to get it as a decimal. So my decimal is set at 4, and I'm taking 65 divided by 1/28, and my decimal is 0.5078. So now take the 73 divided by 140, 0.5214. So which one is, your book gets 4, your book's carrying out to 5. We're going to carry out to 4. So which one is larger? If this were money, would you rather have 51 cents, rounding it, or 52 cents? I'd rather have 52 cents. So this one is larger. Okay, what does that matter? If I'm getting a loan and the loan officer gives me loans in fractions, oddball fractions that I don't know, I want to compare, and I would want the lowest rate. So I would pick that one. If I am putting my money into savings and I'm drawing interest, I would want the most interest that I could get. So I would want the highest one. So comparing decimals is easier than comparing fractions, and you take a fraction and take the numerator divided by the denominator to get it into the decimal form. So you're doing that on 8 through 13. And part H, couple of different ways to do these. If you look at two and 5/6 plus 10 and 4/9 minus 1 and 1/8. I can easily take this mixed fraction and convert it to an improper fraction. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 5 is 17/6. Plus 9 times 10 is 90 plus 4. So 94/9 minus 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 9/8. So these are mixed numbers because you have a whole number with a fraction, and we converted them to improper. So I can't add fractions if they don't have a common. Oy, 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 oy. I'm just going to let this roll. I'm not starting over. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 5 is 17/6. 9 times 10 is 90 plus 4, 94/90. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 9. These are mixed numbers because you have a whole number and a fraction. We converted the mixed number into an improper fraction, which the numerator is bigger than the denominator. I cannot add and subtract fractions if their denominators are not the same. So what we can do is divide the numerator by the denominator to get the decimal, and I can put that into memory. I'm using the calculator on this part, you guys. Divide, put it into memory, divide, subtract it from memory. So clear my tape, clear my memory, and I have 17 divided by 6. Put it into memory. 94 divided by 9. Put it into memory. 9 divided by 8, but make it a negative and put that into memory. And my answer is 12.1528. So estimate 3 plus 10 minus 1. 3 plus 10 is 13, minus 1 is 12. So we are in the ballpark. And we're rounding to 4 places. Your book rounded to 5. Okay. Let's see. On page 87, you should memorize. Oh, I'll cover up my book. I'm looking at this chart. You should memorize common fractions so that you don't have to divide out the numbers to work your problems. A half, think of half of $1 is 50 cents, so a half is 0.5. A fourth is a quarter of $1, so a fourth is 25 cents, 0.25. 3/4 is 75 cents, 3/4 is 3/4, so 0.75. A third you should memorize, it never ends. We're going to carry ours out to 4 places. So if 1/3 is 0.3333, then 2/3 is double of that. But we're carrying out ours to 4 places with the 7 in the 4th. A fifth of $1 is 20 cents. So if a fifth is 20 cents, then 2/5 is double. 40 cents, 0.4. So you should memorize common fractions so that you're not having to calculate all of them. A banker, a loan officer, they're going to know all of these. These are less common, but again, the more you memorize, the easier it is to work your problems. So on page 87 again, set your decimal on 4. And we have, which one do I want to do? I want to do 35, number 18. 35 and 3/4 plus 26 and 1/3 plus 37 and 5/6 minus 29 and 1/8. So these are larger numbers. I don't want to try to make these into improper fractions, but we could. Well, let's do it that way first. If I take, we'll do improper fractions first. If I take 4 times 35 and add 3 to it, I didn't hit the add. 4, I haven't practiced this, so I wasn't going to do it this way. I haven't practiced this one. 4 times 35 is 4 times 35 is 140. Add 3, you get your 143, and we could divide that then. No, put that into memory. That's our decimal So you could put that into memory. So you could work it that way. You could multiply the denominator by the whole number and then add it to the numerator and put that into memory. So that's one way. Another way would be to take 35, and I know 3/4 is 0.75. I'm going to put that into memory. And then take 26.1/3 is 1, 2, 3, 4 threes. Put that into memory. And 37, and I know that 5, 6 is 0.8, 1, 2, 3 threes. And put that into memory. And the last one is 29. Why didn't you like that? 29 point, what am I doing, an eighth? 1/8 is 125, which is a common one, but I need to make that a negative and put that into memory. And so my answer is 70.7916. So either way will work. If you know these, you can work it out by putting the whole number, the decimal number, put it into memory. If you don't know it, you'll need to figure out what that fraction is. Again, I could take 4 times 35, add it to 3. I don't know if I would do it that way. I think I would do it this way. I think that's a better way. So think of money. You know a half is 50 cents. You know a quarter is 25 cents. Number 21 to 25. It's the same, except you are multiplying. So multiplying these, you can go straight across. So I'm on 21, you guys. 12.5 times 54.25 divided by 55.58 is 625. So there is your answer. So do those straight across. So whatever works mathematically for you. 4 times 35 plus 3 divided by 4 will give you that decimal. Put it into memory. You see why it's easier to have it memorized? 3 times 26 plus 1 divided by 3, put it into memory. So whatever way works best for you. We will be rounding these, let the machine round these out to 4 places. So on page 88, payroll, so we have hours worked times hourly rate. So if I work 38 1/4 hours times $5.88 an hour, you just multiply. So 38.25 times 588 will give you your gross pay. Gross pay is hours times rate before anything is deducted. So those are pretty easy. So 38.25 times 5.88. and then set your decimal on 2, because our answer is money. But when you key these in, key them to 4 places. So look at number 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. We have 38 1/3 times 6, 8, 7 1/2. So 38 point, even though your decimal set on 2, carry it out to 4 places, times 6.87 1/2 is 5. So 38.1234 times 6.875. And I get I'm not sure, I haven't looked it up, if Judy, the packet for this, the answer key packet, might have a 3 instead of a 4 if I didn't update to the new program. So you might get 63.64 cents. And looking on page 89, so we are doing stock investments. So if I have 125 shares and one share is $53.87 1/2, you're going to multiply the number of shares, quantity, times the price per share, and the half just becomes a 5. So you're essentially doing the same thing, and this is money, so you are setting your decimal at 2. So that is it for chapter 13. So think common sense, price times quantity. So shares times cost, hours times dollar amount. Okay, the more fractions you can memorize, the better. If you don't know them, remember it's numerator divided by denominator, and then calculate the rest. All right, guys, keep practicing.